Hello and welcome to the Infectious Groove Podcast, part of the Odd Pods Media Network. Recorded at the 33 1/3 Music Appreciation Center in Speakeasy, located just outside of Detroit, Michigan. The Infectious Groove Podcast is your source for jammy jams, music news, and the best in-depth music discussion. Thanks for joining us. Now here are your hosts.
You guys, guess what?
Chicken butt.
Yes, exactly that.
Yes.
We did it. We made it to 100 episodes, which...
Now we're done?
This is it. This is the finish line. I'm, in the most pleasant way, I'm stunned that we're here.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, Kyle, this is even before your time in, our friend circle. Well, you and Michelle are special friends, but the rest of us. For years, nearly every person that I came into contact with was like, why don't you start a music podcast? You have to start one. And then Michelle was as supportive as Michelle gets on that type of thing. She would be like, if I was like, oh, we talked to so-and-so and he said, why don't you have a music podcast? Michelle would just be like, yeah, you should do that.
Accurate.
Which is as supportive as Michelle gets. But it was really when you came into our lives, you were like, why isn't this started? And I was like, oh, I'm going to get to it. And you were like, no, you are not.
And both of y'all were unemployed and you're like, guess what we can do with our spare time?
Yeah. And at the time it was in the middle of the worldwide pandemic, which Michelle enjoyed.
Yes.
As we know. And Kyle literally was like, well, get your shit together because we're recording in 2 weeks. And I was like, okay. And then I learned so many things along the way. Kyle and I did the first episode. And then in this, after the first episode was recorded, Michelle was like, why wasn't I involved?
I want to talk too.
And I was like, and you can, if you go back and listen to the second episode, you'll hear me be like, I didn't know this woman wanted to be on this podcast.
Yep.
And you went on to be, in many ways, the star of the show in...
The heel, if you will?
That's for sure. That's for sure. Yeah. In as much as, and this is kind of inside baseball, but in as much as Vince McMahon was the star of the show in late 90s Monday Night Raw, then yes, you were the star of the show. People tune in for, and I'm gesturing towards kind of like the Stone Cold Steve Austin, but they also want to see what Vince McMahon's up to.
He had big balls, right? I'll take that.
He has a condition. It's not fair that that they're the size of grapefruits. So if you are a longtime listener of the show, you know that on our social media and across the last several episodes, we asked everybody to please send us clips for our 100th episode. And this is such a good thing, but we got so many clips and this is totally something we would do. Our 100th episode is going to be 2 episodes, and we are not. Go ahead.
This is my 99th episode.
This is so you're going to still be here for your 100th. I was actually.
Do I not get to participate today?
Yeah, you just hush up for the one. I should have put all the ones that make mention to Michelle because there are a lot. I should have put all of them in the first one and then just turned her mic off.
Yeah.
But it's funny. So one thing I do want to say is our anniversary as a podcast comes in the last week of January. So with there being 52 weeks in a year and we take off a couple of weeks each year, for in between seasons, quote unquote.
For Michelle break?
Absolutely for Michelle break. So if you're a listener, you might be like, well, how did they get to aren't they roughly 16 weeks ahead right now? And we are because of in the middle of the first season, the listeners asked us for more episodes when the enjoyable worldwide pandemic was going on.
Yes.
So we did an album tournament that was 16 episodes. So it put us 16 ahead of where we should be. But this works out for you, Michelle, because you love a celebration and you love when people celebrate you. Mm-hmm. So now going forward, we will always hit another 100 about 2 months ahead of our anniversary, so we get 2 celebrations per year instead of 1.
Sweet.
Yeah, which is
it a Michelle-abration?
Let's make the second one the Michelle-abration.
So the next episode is all about me then.
Correct.
Sweet.
So what we did was we put out the beacon, the light, the bat symbol, and we said to all of the podcasts out there who have been so supportive of us, and artists who've been on the show and artists we know, and listeners of the show. And because we've always made it clear we are never going to be the 10 most overrated albums or why this album sucks or why that artist sucks show. We want to keep things positive.
We try.
Except for Creed. except for Creed, and when you are handing out any sort of judgment of an album.
Your albums.
Correct. Specifically my albums. So what we did was we asked for everybody to give us to give us a clip talking about an album or an artist or a song that has some sort of positive impact on their lives. Okay. And again, being like, instead of, you don't want a bad memory or anything. I mean, it doesn't even have to be your favorite. And that was the biggest question I got was people kept being like, but it's hard to narrow down my favorite. And I was like, not your, just one thing that had a positive impact on your life. So I will say in advance that there's almost no rhyme or reason to this. There's going to be a whole bunch of great clips in this first episode. You're going to get a whole bunch of great clips in the second episode. We're going to play the clip and talk about them. And there's no rhyme or reason to why anybody is in the first or second episode. Like, we had so many that we were either going to have to do like one mega 2.5 hour episode.
And we're not Joe Rogan.
And we're just not in so many ways. We're not Joe Rogan. So there's very little rhyme or reason as to the ones that you're going to hear. There's a very specific reason why I picked the very first clip we're going to play and a specific reason why I picked the last one. But other than that, everything that happens in the middle is just kind of, I can't put everyone in the best spot, so they're all going to happen that way. This first one, although the podcast community as a whole has been wildly supportive of us, this particular person, I think, was the first person to reach out to us in the podcast community and make us be like, wow, we must really be doing something right.
Is it Will?
It is Will.
Yes!
It is Will from the Limehouse podcast. And furthermore, past that initial contact with us, he then went on to help us with other things, which he never had to. You know, like we were on his show, we had him on ours. He helped me link up with a member of Pink Floyd to, you know, so it's crazy. So that is why Will gets the first nod on this. And it's such a Will message. It is. Here we go.
Come a little bit closer. Hear what I have to say. So that's an excerpt from an album that has meant an awful lot to me over the years. It's beautifully sung, I think you'll agree. And of course it is Neil Young's Harvest Moon, one of the greatest albums of all time. It's got everything you need in an album. It's got a bit of humor, it's got poignancy, it's got a bit of a hell of a lot of introspection. It's basically a man asking himself ultimate questions about his own vulnerability and his own place in life, whilst actually admitting that he's probably been a bit of a prick along the way. He admits to that in some of the songs. There's this album has meant a lot to me. Well, I used to volunteer at a dog sanctuary in Thailand, and called the Soy Dog Foundation. And every night I used to walk 3 miles home across a beach. It was absolute paradise. And this album would join me. And I used to get tremendous homesickness and anxiety in the evenings. And so again, it used to just accompany me. I used to sit in a restaurant, and they let me play this album in full at quite a loud volume. I remember one night a lot of locals and a lot of random Westerners and what have you coming in and chilling the F out. We all just chilled out listening to this album, and it was a beautiful thing, you know, listening to the tide lapping in just literally, you know, a few yards from the restaurant, as Neil Young lays down his ultimate truth, and the most stunning orchestral work in this album as well. And do check it out if you haven't already, because it's a companion album. It will be with you for the rest of your life once you've let it into your heart. And that's the greatest thing about this album. It never, ever, ever grows old, and it always finds a new dimension into your soul, because after all, I think that's what great music is. It's about companionship and about telling you in your own specific way that it's going to be okay. Don't worry. Whatever happens, it's going to be okay, because this album's here. So yeah, look after yourselves. And so honoured to have been asked to do this, because I love your podcast, guys. And hey, look, you know, just lay off Michelle, okay? Look, okay, just leave her alone. She's a lovely human being.
So
yeah, man.
So what's funny
He's a nice human being.
Well, yeah, when he finishes with that, the whole time I was listening to this clip, I was thinking, Michelle doesn't feel that way about any music at all. Like when he was talking about letting it into your soul and it being your companion, and when you learn to love, I was like, Michelle's not putting that time into any of them. And then he caps it off with like, "Hey, be nice to Michelle." No, like, I refuse. And also, did you guys think that Neil Young sent us a clip right at the beginning when Will started singing?
Yes.
You probably couldn't tell the difference.
Yes.
And we're going to get into this in so many clips that we talk about, but we talk about on the show all the time. We talk about like what a time and a place music is. Could you even imagine walking along a beach in Thailand and making a connection with?
I'm working at a dog sanctuary. Get out of here, man. That's like the best life.
So you're just gonna openly insult the person that's.
I'm just gonna be aggressive about it because I don't have that life.
Right. But that's amazing to me. Just even seeing that scene in your mind.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I'm not a big Neil Young guy, but like the way Will talks about that record, I'm like, I should go buy that album and
walk
really
along the beach.
I do love that song too, man.
For sure.
God,
yeah. So we did get a ton of different clips from all walks of life, and we have the next clip that we're going to share is from a listener in California who has, again, our show has been helpful to him over the past year, which is awesome. This is another one of those clips where you'll get this idea as we go through, but music can mean so many different things to so many different people in a positive way, you know, and that's what is awesome about all these clips. So check this one out.
Hi, Russ, Michelle, and Kyle. This is Jamie P. from out in California. Wanted to call and drop you guys a line to say congratulations on your 100 episodes. What a milestone. You guys started out good and just got better, so thank you so much. You'd asked us as a prompt to talk about a record that was influential to us, and I'm not going to do that. I'm going to tell you a little story. When I was 13, we were going on a pretty long trip, and my 13th birthday, I received a Sony WM-B52 sports Walkman and a trip to the record store. And I was allowed to pick out 6 records, which, of course, on a Walkman, I bought them on tape. So these are the records I picked. I picked Bon Jovi, New Jersey, Aerosmith, Permanent Vacation, Motley Crue, Girls, 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 Poison, Open Up and Say Ah, Def Leppard, Hysteria, and Guns N' Roses, Appetite. So clearly I was in a pretty narrow view of the music that I was listening to, but I think I picked pretty well. Most of those albums have held up, and I got pretty lucky in that sense. And that ability to bring music with me was very life-changing for me. And pretty much every day since then, I have, headphones in my ear listening. Or I'm, sitting down listening to vinyl. So, that it was definitely a life level up for me to be able to bring my music with me. I'm sure it was simply an attempt to shut me up while we went on a pretty long vacation that year. So, anyway, with that, I just wanted to thank you guys again for giving us something great to look forward to every Monday morning, and a chance to watch your videos. It's always good to see you guys. Well, you, Russ, and if Michelle ever wanted to be on a video, we'll see. And finally, I wanted to thank you for your support of myself and my family. It's really helped us a lot through what's been a pretty hard time for us. Anyway, congratulations. Have a great day.
I love stories like that, like people getting their first Walkman, getting their first CD. Like
6 CDs, 6 tapes.
6 tapes. I know.
That I don't think I've ever bought 6 tapes or CDs or anything at the same time. Oh, that's expensive.
Jamie likes music, though. But no, even back. Wait, hold on. Do some quick pumpkin spice latte math, which you've received a lot of praise for on the show recently. How many pumpkin spice lattes? Now, hold on. This is all conversion. So you're buying cassettes back in like 85, 86. How many pumpkin spice lattes would 6 cassettes be?
In today, pumpkin spice latte pricing?
Absolutely.
With inflation?
We're going to want to adjust for cassette and pumpkin spice latte inflation.
At least a dozen.
Right, yeah, which you value the pumpkin spice latte more than the cassette.
Well, then a cassette, yes, because I don't have a way to play them, but yes.
Understood. So we have another podcast that we're going to share the clip from, and again, you're going to keep hearing this, but we got so much support from within the podcast community, and we're really, really, really happy about it. So let me share this with you guys as well.
Hey, Derek of the Derek Duvall Show here. The album that most speaks to me and has had such an important impact positively on my life is Alice Cooper's Welcome to My Nightmare. There is a reason it's on the greatest albums of all time list. The cover art alone is on lists as well. There is not a single bad track on this album. Alice Cooper's musical descent into a hellish madness is a delight and a terror to behold. Even with a cameo from Vincent Price to boot, we were also introduced to the mysterious Stephen, who would appear in many future albums. This was the first LP that my dad gave me when I was 7. My dad had an original shirt from the early 70s European tour with pig's blood covered on it. Until the day he passed, Alice Cooper was religion. We'd even sing Welcome to My Nightmare in karaoke bars. So thanks to Alice for releasing one of the most influential albums of all time.
So I love that clip for many reasons. One of which is, again, you're going to see these themes in these clips of like, this is my connection to my parents or my childhood or whatever. And what's weird is, and again, you know, I'm older than you guys, like with Alice Cooper, when he came out, was so different than anything else that had happened. But then the dude was on the Muppet Show. And he didn't lighten up his shtick like they did the guillotine thing and everything, like on the Muppet Show. Like Kermit's all yay, and then they like, and here's blood and Alice Cooper, you know. And
is he from Detroit?
Yeah. Oh, Alice Cooper's absolutely from Detroit.
He just opened up that thing.
Oh yes.
So if you're new to the show, this is one of the many delightful. Michelle is so full of information for us.
Partial information.
So if you are listening to the show and you wondered, yes, Alice Cooper just opened a thing.
He did the inaugural.
Yep.
Opening of that St. Eloise or whatever insane asylum hospital thing, the haunted house thing in Detroit.
Would you like to post on our social media later this week, giving anyone any idea what you're talking about?
No, I would not. I would like to not have said any of that.
To swing it back to Kyle.
Oh boy.
So Kyle, though, here's the thing with Alice Cooper, though. So this is, you know, Derek and his dad had this huge connection, right? Over half the artists that you listen to specifically, you should thank Alice Cooper for.
Yeah.
You know, because you have
absolutely.
people like Alice Cooper that without him, you don't even come close to getting Slipknot.
Yep.
Like you're easily waiting another 20 years for that band to happen. You know, and that's just one.
Yeah.
You know, so
it's crazy.
And then on top of that, he did a thing recently. So as we all know, Alice Cooper just recently did a thing
In Detroit.
So,
Adjacent.
let's move on to a listener clip.
Hey, Infectious Group Podcast. It's Mike from Chicago. Congratulations on 100 episodes, and here's to many, many more. My pick will be Rush 2112. Heard it at a party when I was about 20 years old and absolutely loved it. Was familiar with some of Rush's other stuff and really got into the 2112 album about that time. Fast forward about 18 years ago, and my wife was giving birth to our daughter, and we checked into the hospital, and they put us in room 2112. And I thought that was one of the coolest things ever. 3 years later, my wife is going into labor with our son, and we're back at the same hospital, and I actually request room 2112. And the nurse said, let me check if it's empty, and it was. So both of my children were born in the same hospital, in the same room, and that room is 2112. So bringing it all full circle. Congrats again. Later.
That's awesome.
That is such a music nerd thing that only music nerds would get.
That's fucking cool, though.
That's like the in the movie Silver Linings Playbook with the, why are they so excited about a 5?
Yeah.
You know, like when you can I have room 20? Can I? No, the movie's awesome. Can I have 2112? Yes. Yeah. Why is he so excited about 2112? You know? But like that, it all goes back to hearing that album when you were a kid, and you know, it's just. And the fact that I'm certain both of those children are like, yay. Yeah. Like, oh, hooray. We were born
I can hear the eye rolls right now from their children.
Just because you personally happen to go along with the eye rolls as well.
Yes.
Let me move us into another clip from a fellow podcaster. And this podcast has 3 hosts. And
we have 3 hosts.
Yes, you're correct. This one that we're going to play has 3 hosts. And they all 3 left us a message, so we'll hear them throughout the show. But this one here is this is one that I used first for a reason because of the artist featured in it.
Hey, it's Midnight Smoke from Because Fuck You, That's Why, part of the ever-entertaining Odd Pods Media Network. I would have to say that the most influential, quote-unquote, album for me was the Weird Al's permanent record, Ale in a Box. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's not an album, but I got this one thing, so I'm counting it. It's all in one, so I think this works. Besides, it's cool, man. I was a kid of the 80s. Cassettes were awesome. Well, I've always been a fan of parody and comedy, so when I learned about Weird Al, I was an instant fan of the guy. Like, no joke. Not to mention he's a very kind human being. His performances, from seeing his videos on MTV's Al TV specials to his performance in UHF, the guy was a genius. Still is, in my opinion. Now, this box set not only has all of his well-known classics like Eat It, Fat, and even Yoda, but also has some amazing originals in there. Not to mention the badass biography book that came with it. Look, I've seen Weird Al perform multiple times live throughout my life, and nothing can compare to that. But these cassettes come in a very, very close second to me personally. They've gotten me through some amazingly hard times, got me to laugh when I thought I couldn't, but also I got to enjoy like laughter with friends listening to his parodies in the car on road trips or just hanging out. So honestly, I think Weird Al has been a big influence on me, especially, hey, look at the goofy things I say on Twitter and whatnot.
Smoke is not kidding. The stuff he says on Twitter is, if you were active on Twitter, Michelle, this is the things you would say on Twitter. Yeah. Yeah. And so I mean it in a very endearing.
So I need to figure out my Twitter password, log in, and then follow him.
Yes, please do. Now, one thing I want to note is you'll notice that a lot of music clips are playing underneath while the people are talking about the artist. And if the person mentioned a song specifically, then I'm using that. And if they didn't, then I'll just use my favorite. But with that specifically, the Weird Al box set that came out, there was only one new song included on it that you couldn't get anywhere. And it was the Crash Test Dummies parody. So that's why I used it on that one. That is one of the most underrated Weird Al parodies that there is. It is absolutely perfect.
It sounds so much like the Crash Test
does.
Dummies too.
It's so, and it's, we'll do a full episode on Al some other time, but the way that he works everything, and it's just brilliant, and I love it. And that's not we've got at least two other people who mentioned Weird Al in their artists.
Were they from the Weird Al podcast?
We have one from the Weird Al podcast. So this next one is from a person who leaves us an awful lot of voicemails, and yes, and we love it. Like we love they're it. Awesome every week. But what's funny is Seth recorded his clip for this in the studio where he does his own podcast, and in many ways I was like, Seth's voice sounds different. But it's an excellent message. So let's check that out.
Well, hello. This is Seth from the Thanks for Coming podcast. It's nice to speak with you all, not on voicemail, internet phone technology. First of all, congratulations to the Infectious Brew podcast. Very big, exciting episode for you all. So I just wanted to, first of all, of course, give you props and thank you for dealing with all my voicemails. And it's been a pleasure listening to you guys, and hopefully I can join you guys as a guest one of these days. But I know that I am here to discuss my favorite artists or an artist that has changed my life. And I don't know if I'm cheating, but I would like to say Amanda Palmer in all of her incarnations. She started in the Dresden Dolls, which I really, that was like my high school and college, and then she went solo after that. But both bands are pretty similar in style. She performs punk cabaret. So, as like growing up in high school and things like that, as a gay person that was not openly gay at the time, I really enjoyed listening to her music because it helped me to feel like I could be myself and that was okay. In the Dresden Dolls, they painted their faces and they looked very, artistic. And that's like how I always wanted to be. Amanda, she always draws her eyelashes on with eyeliner, and it's always like some new like design of sorts. And I just thought that's so creative. I really, really admire her a lot. And Brian, who is the drummer in the Dresden Dolls, because he's like a really entertaining drummer. And I just can't say enough nice things. I've seen her in venues. She's done pop-up shows on beaches. I have a picture of her riding piggyback on my back at the beach. Her music and her lyrics also really influenced me. She writes such poignant lyrics, even about the saddest topics. I'll just go ahead and leave this. I know I feel like I'm rambling. I'm probably at my time limit, but I just wanted to end my little segment by quoting just a line from one of my favorite songs of hers. It's called Ampersand off her first solo record. This is a lyric that means a lot to me. I have wasted years of my life agonizing about the fires. I started when I thought that to be strong, you must be flame retardant. So that just means a lot to me, just because the fires are always the disasters in your life, and I always felt like I had to be flame retardant, like I had to be brave and strong enough to deal with everything. But through her lyrics, you kind of realize that it's okay, and you're not supposed to be that way. It's okay to have struggles. So wow, this feels like a throwback to one of my Trouble podcast episodes. But again, thank you for always dealing with my long rambling messages on your show. And of course, as always, I'm excited to hear what you have on your next episode. Bye, guys.
Well, the next episode is going to be Michelle's 100th, so it's going to be awesome. But one thing I want to point out about that, well, first of all, amazing message.
Yes.
Amazing message. And, when I was a kid, Elton John, Liberace, Boy George, Freddie, people would always get uppity about it, and, oh, look at Boy George is so weird. Or even older people than me would be like, oh, I heard Freddie Mercury's gay. And my stance was always I don't care.
My stance.
You can put anything you want anywhere except for you,
yes.
Right? Okay.
I don't care where you put it.
Right.
As long as it's not me.
What's I always thought of myself as being pretty upstanding when I was a kid by just being well, I don't care. And that type of message brings to light, it very much matters to some people, that someone was out there setting an example and saying it's going to be okay and you can be whoever you want, So even my stance was wrong as a kid of I don't care, cause I thought I was being standing up for people. And it's no, you, not only you should care that they're doing that and helping other people.
Yeah.
I do not want to cut anybody off, but we got to power through these last ones that we have for the first half of this. But I love all the messaging in all of these. So let us get into the next clip from another podcast for us.
Hey, Russ, Kyle, and Michelle, this is Ken M.
And Padawan J.
From the ODPH podcast, better known as the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour. And first and foremost, congratulations on 100 episodes. You guys kick ass every time we hear you. And you posed that question in our pod group, so we definitely want to throw an answer. Who or what is an artist or album that has had a positive impact on your life? So, Pad, what you got?
I'm going to have to say John Williams, just because, you look at the man's list of films he scored on IMDb, and we'd be here for 3 hours if we listed them all. It's a lot. But you just look at some of the franchises he's done work for: Star Wars, Harry Potter, Jurassic Park, Jaws, and the list goes on and on and on. So just probably there's a good percentage, I don't know what it is, I haven't calculated it before, but there's probably close to maybe a double-digit percentage of albums on my phone, on my Apple Music, that are John Williams, just because everything he's done, and he just creates great work and a lot of awesome stuff.
Right on, man. That's awesome. For me, my musical tastes go all over the place. So if we're talking hip hop, I grew up in the 90s with it, and of course, being in New York State, it's Biggie all the way, and Ready to Die is one of my favorite hip hop albums of all time. But I also do like my punk music as well, too. And I would have to say one group that really stands out to me is Rise Against. I love that group.
All right.
And I think that they put on very smart punk rock. And I really enjoy that when somebody is trying to convey a message without being too overbearing with it and still can kick some ass and rock and roll with it. Endgame is probably my favorite album from them. I can listen to that front to back all the time. I think it's a masterpiece. And also a little bit of U2 that I do like, the Joshua Tree. Right. And from that time period, a little before Oxman Baby. I was not the biggest fan of that album, surprisingly. But everything before that, With or Without You, is one of my favorite songs of all time. And there's so much just raw energy coming from that album.
Yeah.
It's something I can throw on from time to time. Man, there's so much more I could go on and on and on about. But it's not about us. It is about saying congratulations on 100 episodes. Keep kicking ass. Here's to many, many more to come.
Rise Against, just great. Like, I'm not even a punk fan at all, and that's one of those bands that I'm like, well, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
You know?
I love Rise Against.
And also, the gentleman mentioned John Williams, and I made sure to play the song that plays in my head every time you're approaching, Michelle, which is, of course, the Imperial March announcing Darth Vader's arrival. Yes. We have a great clip from a listener, fairly new listener of the show.
Hey, you beautiful Michiganders. This is Ryan Fought calling from Nebraska. Wanted to give a little bit about a record that had a positive impact on my life. It's called The 59 Sound by the Gaslight Anthem. It's their second studio album. Came out in 2008. My life in 2008 was a little bit crazy. I was a new dad. I was in a marriage that was not good for anybody, and is much better now that it's over. And life was just nuts. I just kind of hung up my own rock and roll dreams and kind of focused on domestic bliss is what I was hoping for. Didn't really turn out that way, but you know how we do. So I was feeling pretty lost. And I remember hearing the title track from the 59 Sound on the radio, and instantly I knew I needed to hear more. So I ran to the local record shop and picked up the CD, and instantly I just loved it. There's so much great rock and roll on this album, kind of something for everybody. There's great tracks like Great Expectations. Here's Looking at You Kid is one of my favorite ballads, and it's, you know, kind of an amazing song about wanting the love that you could have had in the past that kind of fell by the wayside, and how, you know, it kind of just talks about everything you could have had but lost out on. It has a fantastic final track called The Backseat. That's just a real burning track. And it just kind of, it felt like rock and roll to me. It felt alive. It felt like summer, and it just had so much life. So since then, I've looked into their entire catalog, and Brian Fallon, their frontman, is an amazing songwriter, and I love his entire catalog too. And they've really become my favorite band of all time. Unfortunately, they were kind of a short-lived band, but hopefully, you never know. Brian keeps putting out albums. Hopefully someday they'll come back together. But yeah, I just want to say congratulations, you guys, on your 100th episode. I just kind of discovered the show recently, and I've been loving going back and listening to all the episodes. So much great content, and I really thank you guys for that. Here's to 100 more, maybe 1,000 more. Keep going, keep that needle down, keep the volume up. See you later.
Michelle shaking her head, clearly no at the notion of 1,000 more. And I also do feel like, first of all, thank you very much for the compliments.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
and you know, I do feel like there's going to, if he's going back through the back catalog, there's going to come points where he's going to be like, wait a minute, I think I'm done here. Which are made reference in other other clips that we have.
If you drink coffee, there's going to be lots of coffee spit all over the place.
That's for damn sure. We got 2 more clips to work in, and then I'm going to take us to break, and we're going to keep working through all these amazing clips. But here is another one that we received that's great.
My name is KC.
My name is Dan.
And I'm Aaron, and we are The Itch. We have been a rock radio show in St. Louis for the past 17 years, as well as a podcast for the past year and a half. And an album that means a lot to us is the album Babylon by the Welsh reggae metal band Skin Dread.
Came out back in 2004, the same year that we started our radio show. And actually, it was very soon after we started our radio show that I got to see them live in concert. Had no idea who they were. They just blew my mind opening for Nonpoint and Seven Dust. And I remember the next day just coming back telling everybody about how awesome they were live. And lo and behold, KC.
Yeah, music director at the time gave me a CD and said, hey, I think this will fit your show pretty well. And I was listening to it and was playing it for Dan. And he's like, this is the guys that I saw yesterday. So ever since then, we played them on our show and have dubbed them the Itch's favorite band.
Rightfully so. Amazing group of people, amazing musicians. They are just awesome.
When we started that show, the style of music that we were playing, this heavier rock, was very different from what was on the rest of the station. So the station wasn't exactly getting promotional copies of much stuff that we could use. So this sort of happy coincidence that they happened to have received this single from this band at the same time that we discovered them was sort of like a, I don't know if you want to call it a sign, but it was like this validation, like, hey, we could actually make something happen with this, taking the music that we had and a band like this and roll with it. And it's been great.
It was also incredible because we were playing this song and this band when nobody else was in St. Louis radio. And so it made us feel really special, not only because we were the only ones playing, but because that they were awesome and that we felt that it was our mission to make sure that everybody knew how awesome they were.
That is true.
It still is our mission.
Yeah, that is the mission of the Itch, is to make sure people know how awesome up-and-coming rock bands are. So, hey, thanks for giving us the opportunity to talk about an album that means a lot to us. We appreciate the Infectious Groove and the work you guys do to also spread the word about great music.
So there were two things about that clip when it came in. Number one, we do that all the time. We're like, no, more people need to hear this.
Yeah.
Thing.
Yeah.
You know, like from the first one that springs to mind, it's like Parker Millsap or the Lone Bellow. You know, but we're always like, more people need to hear this, and I love that. And the second thing is, this is an act I hadn't heard of until I was putting these clips together.
Mm-hmm.
As soon as I push play on that, I out loud at my computer, I said, "Oh, Kyle's going to love this band."
I've heard of that band because of them opening for bands like Nonpoint and Seven Dust and whatnot.
As soon as they mentioned who they were opening for, I was like, "Well, that
it makes
sense.
total sense."
Yeah.
And am I the only one that thinks it's really fucking cool that people from an actual radio show called in?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Those are great guys. I just went on their show 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Because they, God bless them, they were like, "We heard on Twitter that you're the guy that wants to talk about 1991 all the time."
Yeah.
I was like, that is true.
And I feel like for a long time, like everyone has a podcast now. The upper echelon would be like having a syndicated radio show that everyone listens to, right?
Right, yeah, right.
And yeah, so having one for so long that they've been on the radio, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, we've had an embarrassment of riches in the being recognized by people who do this far longer.
Yes.
And I would argue better than us, and the exactly that. Like I was like, if you would have told me when I was a kid, so many things have happened during the show, I would have been like, that's insane, and exactly that. Like the fact that I'm friends with a person here in Detroit radio who has not reached out to be involved. So the fact that someone that's 2,000 miles away did, is fantastic. I'm going to play one more clip to round out the first half of this episode. And then this one here is one that kind of, this one that ends this half and the one that starts the next one were kind of ones that I put in place on purpose. This is a fantastic clip for us to check out, and then we will take a break.
Hey, Infectious Groove crew, this is Aaron from I Had to Say It. Just wanted to shoot you guys a quick voice message. Say congratulations on 100th episode. Here's to 100 more and beyond. Congratulations. I can't believe it's actually taken me this long to get around to sending you guys a voice note. Congratulations on the baby, guys. Congratulations on putting on a fantastic show. I look forward to you guys every week. It makes my Mondays less of a Monday. That being said, let's get to, you guys wanted to hear about artists or albums that have had a positive impact on our lives, and far be it from me to not deliver on what somebody asks. I would say I love so many different artists and so much music, but if I was going to pick one album and say this one really had an impact on my life, I'm going to go with The Sky Is Crying by Stevie Ray Vaughan. That was an album that when it came out, it was one of the earliest CDs I ever bought, and I played the holy hell out of that thing. If I was in a bad mood, I would put it on and listen to it front to back. If I was in a good mood, I would put it on and listen to it front to back. It still is one of my favorite albums, and it just spoke to me and really got me. It's got that southern driving rock and blues, and it was fantastic. And so, yeah, that's my contribution. Once again, congratulations on 100 episodes, guys. Look forward to hearing what comes next.
So I'm going to take us to break here in a second, but I have to say, and I've told you guys this, no pun intended, Aaron from I Had to Say It, I have to say. I've told you guys this on the show. Aaron, to say that he's the most supportive person in the podcast community would be an understatement. Like anybody on Twitter who's ever asked for podcast recommendations, this guy recommends us 40 times a week. And he's always interactive with us on Twitter.
Sweet.
Big fan of yours, Michelle.
Yeah.
Nope. And,
wait, was that sarcasm?
Yeah, he's the one that will leave us a message being like, this episode was great. Kyle and Russ had a lot to say, and then Michelle was also there. or Michelle was Michelling.
Yes.
Things like that. I'm going to take us to break. Hopefully you are enjoying this because we have so many more great clips to share with you. When we get back, we've got some very special messages to share. You are listening to the 100th episode, Michelle's 99th of the Infectious Group podcast on the Odd Pods Media Network. We'll be right back.
I'm Midnight Agent Raw. And I'm Okami. We are the Super Media Bros Podcast. And each week, we give a comedic take on all forms of entertainment, such as movies, music, video games, television, and much more. So put your shades on and listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Shades on. We're on.
Hi, I'm Sam.
I'm Richie.
And I'm Little Matt.
And here at the 500 Section Lounge, we have a few requirements.
First, you've got to be able to talk about anything at all.
Secondly, you need to be able to laugh, play games, and talk to some very interesting people.
From sports radio personalities to reality television contest finalists and everything in between, we talk to them all.
Yeah, it's all right here in the lounge.
So be on the lookout for what we do next.
And always be there to
grab a listen.
We are back. Michelle celebrating her 99th episode of the Infectious Groove podcast. Yeah, she's going to hit 100 real soon. Kyle and Russ celebrating our 100th episode.
I was here for the 100th.
You were here. I had no idea you wanted to talk.
I was fact checking.
Right. Yep. I'm going to take us back into these awesome clips that we have. And like I said, there's no rhyme or reason to these clips except for a very few. And this next one is very much a special message that we got. We are blessed on this show to know some of the artists that we admire. And this particular individual who left us a message is revered as one of the greatest guitar players alive today. And I thought the message that he sent us was very special. So let me play that for you now.
Hello, everybody. Ron Bumblefoot Thal here. And a very happy 100th episode to Infectious Groove Podcast. Congratulations, guys. So one album that had a huge impact on my life. I mean, there's been a lot of them, and I'm going to go with Van Halen, Fair Warning. So I was 12 years old, and up to this point, I was sort of like a Angus Young kind of guitar player. Now remember, I was at a band practice, and there was a kid hanging out there asked me if I heard Van Halen. I hadn't heard them before. So he played me a recording of the intro to Mean Street on the just released Fair Warning album. And just like anybody that heard Van Halen for the first time, it blew my mind. I never heard that kind of guitar playing before. Still, to this day, I've never heard that kind of guitar playing ever again. That intro was just a sound I had never heard before, and it opened my eyes, my ears, my mind, my spirit, my entire being. It just changed the course of everything and how I looked at playing guitar and making music, and the role that guitar has in a song and in music. And from there, I became a different kind of player. I started really experimenting and digging deep to find who I was. It will always be one of my favorite albums, and I am so grateful that I got to be on Earth at the same time Van Halen was. That said, I'm leaving this message to you on October 6th. Eddie Van Halen passed 1 year ago today. So I figured today would be the best day to leave this message and to send love to the Van Halen family and to all their fans and to all of you listening right now. I thank you all so much.
So we got more than a few messages that left me a little shook, as the kids say, and that is one of them, because Ron is one of the nicest people I've ever met in my life, but he's also revered as possibly the greatest guitar player alive. And for him to share that insight about hearing Van Halen for the first time, how it completely changed him as a guitar player, which made him evolve into one of the greatest guitar players of all time. And it is not lost on me the fact that he went ahead and sent that to us on the 1 year anniversary of Eddie's passing, which is, it's so poignant, and Ron is a super busy guy. He's involved in so many different things. And the fact that he even committed to sending us that was nice. And I wasn't going to remind him about it because, he's an international star. I didn't want to bother him about it. In the morning of that Tuesday, I got a text that said, hey, is it okay if I send the file now? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Now it's fine. And then when I listened to the message and heard why happened on that day, what I thought was amazing. So now a lot of these messages that we got do talk about sad times, like Ryan referenced, like how he was in a real funk and the 59 sound is the only thing that pulled him out of it and whatnot. But we have one from a listener here that I think really points out something that, and Michelle, you've helped me learn this over even the past 10 years. We've dealt with a lot of loss, and I have been very, very down about a whole lot of loss. And you've been like, okay, but there's things to celebrate about it. And the message that we have next, I think really drives that point home.
Hey guys, it's Mike.
So there's no way to go back in time and change anything, but you sure can revisit the past anytime you'd like. Much like we need oxygen and water to survive, our brain, heart, and soul thrives on a component that, while not a required necessity to survive, it is the key to unlock some magic for all of us, and that is simply music. Among its many amazing benefits, the one that I'm most in awe about is its ability to provide instant recall to any memory and not only take you right back to a moment in time, but it will also allow you to remember, feel, and sometimes even smell a precise, tangible moment that is married to that memory by music, tone, score, or even, to quote a title on a Beach Boys album riddled with stinkers, good vibrations, for God's sake. This magic is something that I refer to as sonic time traveling. My most favorite moment in time is relived with every spin from the album Journeyman by Eric Clapton. Now, Russ, we can pause for a moment for yet another explanation of who he is to Michelle. We'll wait. Okay, we're back. Anyways, being a fan of Eric, I have a collected mass of favorites, but this particular record is one of the best. Eric has an amazing guitar tone dialed in to play an outstanding assortment of well-crafted and performed songs that would provide fodder for some amazing live versions in the future. This album was released in November of '89, and it was the one thing I wanted for my birthday the following month. That very birthday would provide one of the best memories that I have with my father and I together. It was just him and I all day, and after hitting Harmony House to pick it up, we listened to that cassette several times as we drove around doing multiple wonderful, awesome things. It was just a great day. I miss my dad every day, and I'm grateful for the ability to drop the needle for some groove therapy and do some sonic time traveling to revisit that moment in time. So I don't have a particular artist or album. I guess I do. Eric Clapton's my guy, and this particular album is what I love to dial in when I need it. And it's so great that it works. But in speaking of time, I've ramble-tambled on long enough. Cheers to my fellow time travelers, and congrats, Russ, Michelle, and Kyle on 100 great moments in time of your own. Here's to many more hell yes and high fives around. Cheers.
What a great message.
Yes.
And for sure, like that, I could name off so many things, but to Mike's point about like my mom, and I'm sure you guys have the same thing, like I can put on any number of Elvis live cuts and be right there with my mom still.
Yeah.
You know, and even artists themselves like Prince. We have so much that he left, and it's so sad that he left so early, but we have so much that we can do exactly what Mike said, like go right back to when that happened or how many times we've enjoyed it, and I love that there's so many Easter eggs in that message. like it's funny because, again, to reference Ryan's message earlier, like if he was to listen to Mike's message right now, some of that like ramble tamble and
it makes no sense.
Yeah, he might be like, I don't get that, and then he's going to go back and hear it and be like, oh, that's what that guy was talking about. Next up, we have a gentleman who Kyle got in a bit of a kerfuffle with over the band that he's going to talk to us about. And this is a fellow Odd Pods family member, CJ, going to talk to us about a band that him and Kyle love but disagree on.
What's up, Michelle, Kyle, and Russ? Congrats on 100 episodes of an Infectious Groove podcast. This is CJ from Pod Askew. My most influential, not even influential, but an album that means the most to me, honestly, or has a big impact on my life, is probably Metallica's Load. Now, I know right away there's the argument that it's not even their best album, and I can't disagree with that. There are albums of theirs that are substantially better. I can list 3 or 4 right off the top of my head, like Master of Puppets and And Justice for All and Ride the Lightning, and even in the latter years, Death Magnetic. But, Load is an album that has saved my life, metaphorically speaking, on more than one occasion. There's just something about it that centers me if I'm in a really bad place, just having a bad day or a bad week or whatever. I can put Load on, and it will take me to a place where I can enjoy and center myself, and I can go from all Metallica's albums. I go from front to back and listen to the whole thing, but this album for sure, I can start with Ain't My Bitch and go all the way through to Outlaw and Torn. And just feel myself getting better or feeling better as I go. And yet you get all the different emotional feels. You get a Black Album vibe with a song like King Nothing, and you get the construction of a song that's on, say, Master of Puppets with the Outlaw Torn. Style's different, but the length and the way that the song is constructed is very similar. So, yeah, I think you get a lot of what Metallica is, and certainly some things that aren't, up to that point in 1996 when it was released. And it is the first Metallica album that I bought. It's my first Metallica album. Prior to that point, I was a fan after all the albums had come out. This was the first album to come out since I became the diehard fan that I still am to this day. So I think that's another reason why this album means so much to me. And that's why I love Metallica's album Load. Again, congratulations to Russ, Kyle, and Michelle on 100 episodes and being part of Odd Pods Media, and looking forward to 100 more.
We don't even have to argue over what's old Metallica and what's new Metallica. That was fun.
That might have been the first Metallica album that I owned, too.
Yeah, probably.
Oh, man, yeah. Load and Reload.
They're
I
both
yes.
such good records.
Yeah.
Like, and now we have the benefit of hindsight. Like, when those records came out, there was so much controversy over, oh, this sounds different. That's not my Metallica, you know that. But now, when you look back on it, you're doing Michelle, you celebrate Metallica's entire catalog, right?
Who's Metallica?
Exactly. They're a folk band out of San Francisco.
Oh, I'm in.
Yeah, you absolutely are. I'll tell you who you are in for. We have a listener named Anthony who left us a message that when this message came in, I was like, Michelle's going to be like, yes, over this one.
Hey guys, this is Anthony over in Orlando, Florida. Album record that means a lot to me growing up was Dashboard Confessionals Unplugged live album. I know that's weird to say because, you know, I know what some of you are thinking about when I say Dashboard Confessional or utter the words Chris Carrabba, but, you know, it's one of those albums that I can always go back to because it takes me back to a time, you know, when there was a lot going on in my life, and Chris, just for some reason, you know, he was able to hit points and feelings and thoughts and words and put them out into songs that, I couldn't at that time. And if you go and watch it unplugged, it's amazing because everyone's singing their songs. Like in some cases, the audience sings those songs more than Chris does in some aspects. And I think it's really phenomenal. And I can always go back to that album. It just, like I said, he can literally, he was able to describe accurately what I was going through at that time and put into emotion on a guitar that I could only put into on a piano. And, he's just, again, I know it sounded a little funny, but it really is one of those things where that album, even though it was it just came at a pivotal time in my life. And I'll never, ever probably stop listening to it. I can always go back to it. It's great. So, yep, that's my 2 cents. Dashboard Confessionals Unplugged album. So, thanks.
Michelle, do you have any comments on Dashboard Confessional? Because I would like someone to say something positive about them.
No, not me.
Yeah, that's why I refer to Michelle.
What is wrong with you guys?
So, do you see what I see for you? I have to assume because you make reference a lot to like that emo phase in your life, but like what Anthony was talking about, where he was able to say and express things that you were feeling but wouldn't say.
Yeah, that's emo.
That's the whole.
That you just said it. That's it.
But you very much feel that way about.
Oh yeah, that entire album is great.
Unplugged.
The Unplugged is just amazing. I agree that's probably it. If I was gonna put on a Dashboard record, it would be that, just because it's great, and it takes me back in a point in time, and I agree.
If you were going to forego a pumpkin spice latte for an album, that'd
be a couple pumpkin spice lattes.
Right on. We are going to go into the second of 3, and I don't know where the third one is, but we have it here somewhere. References to Weird Al.
Okay.
And a great explanation
Spoiler
about
alert.
who Weird Al is and why this person even dedicates as much time and energy as they do to him.
Hey, it's Lauren from the Weird Al podcast, and as my podcast, I guess, makes pretty evident, Weird Al Yankovic has had such a positive impact on my life and who I am as a person. His music made me laugh from a very, very young age. That's not the only thing that has been important about Weird Al for me. Yeah, like it started with the humor and that's all great, right? Who he is as a person and what he stands for as an individual is the thing that you want to emulate, you know? He's brilliant in his song parodies. He's brilliant in his original songs. he's brilliant when he's even emulating the style of another artist. But the way he goes about it is what's the most important. He always asks the artist for permission before he parodies a song. He doesn't legally have to do this. You know, there's fair use laws, right? He can parody whatever the heck he wants. But he wants the artist to be on board before he does anything like that because he's so nice and he's so kind. And if he does something that, you know, inadvertently hurts somebody's feelings, he's kind about that too. You know, you there's stories where, you know, the Achy Breaky song, where he's making fun of Achy Breaky Heart by Billy Ray Cyrus. He is basically just kind of crapping on that song, right? And he felt bad about that afterwards. It was like, you know, that was low hanging fruit, and you know, that wasn't necessarily the best thing I could have done as a human being. But he felt bad about it, and that's kind of, you know, public knowledge. And I guess all I'm trying to say is Weird Al Yankovic is the kindest person in the entire world. He's smart, he's funny, and he doesn't take himself too seriously. And he is the reason why I try to take the things I'm doing seriously, but not take myself seriously. Meaning, like, you can be serious about what you're doing and take your craft seriously without taking yourself seriously as a person. And I think there's something we can, you know, all grab onto from that. And, you know, I just want to thank everybody at the Infectious Groove podcast for giving me the opportunity to say that, long story short, Weird Al is awesome. Y'all should listen to more Weird Al. And thank you so much. All right. Ciao.
So, of the many things that Lauren touched on, one thing, and there's a reason why I put word crimes in the background, is because in the time since Blurred Lines came out, which as soon as I heard it, I was like, banger. We've all become more enlightened since then. And you can't really enjoy that song for a multitude of reasons.
Yes.
And Weird Al not only took like what you could refer to as a very toxic song and not only parodied it to where we can still enjoy the song, but it's also extremely educational. Like if you listen to that song, you know, like there's teachers who use that song as part of their curriculum, you know, and so that's just one of the many things that Weird Al did for me, you know, does things like that to where I can still enjoy the song. Now, we have made it clear on this show over and over again that we don't, by and large, we don't care what you're up to in your personal life as an artist. But with people like Weird Al, like it really matters that there are people out there that you're like, and also that's a great person too. You know? Now, we have had the pleasure of getting to know many of the artists that we've had on the show and that we admire. And the clip that I'm going to share next is from one of those artists. And to go back to what the Itch was saying about a band that they always want to push and always, we firmly believe on this show that everyone on earth should be listening to the Lone Bellow.
Yes.
Agreed.
And like, again, great artist, but also incredibly kind, wonderful human being as well. Brian took time out of his schedule where the Lone Bellow are currently recording their 5th album. Brian is recording a solo album. Another member of the Lone Bellow is recording a solo album that Brian is producing. And they're all doing different tours, and he still took time out of his schedule to leave us a message, which I thought was fantastic.
This is Brian Elmquist. I'm so proud of my friends at Infectious Groove, reaching the milestone of 100 episodes. I remember when he was just talking about it, and they were planning it out, and it's so great to see. For me, albums, all roads lead back to Willie Nelson's Red-Headed Stranger and Chris Christopherson's Border Lord. The background vocals, the treatment, the story, just holds music for me. The wild and the creative and the wonder in those records. Anyway, proud of you guys.
So I love that because, and you know this, Michelle, but again, Kyle, before you were even part of the group, Michelle and I would go to Lone Bellow shows, and it got to a point where like the 3rd or 4th show in a row, they would just be like, if you didn't start the podcast yet, like we really don't want to talk to you right now. Like, you've got, you know, they were very much the people that were like, you have got to start this. So I thought it was awesome that Brian took the time with everything that he has going on to encourage us having reached this milestone, which I thought was great. Got a couple more clips to get through this one, and then we have another episode lined up because, again, sounds like something we do. Our 100th episode is going to be 2 episodes. We've got a bunch more clips to share with you as well, but let's get through the ones that we have for this one here because we have even more great stuff to share.
Hey, this is Garrett and Frankie from the Ever Trending Story podcast. Congratulations on 100 episodes. That is quite a milestone. As far as what your question was, a lot of my life has revolved around music, and while I had so many different options to choose from, I had to go with Tech Nine. I was introduced to him through a marketing campaign in the 2000s, but didn't fully get into him until around 2010 or so. Family member at the time was listening to the album Psychology 101 when I was visiting, and I was hooked. The fast rapping and clever lines blew my mind, and just the sheer scope of his catalog has kept me entertained for years. The collaborations with other artists have introduced me to so many other musical acts, and he writes music for all moods, and his partners have also put out some fantastic music that's got me through some hard times. I recommend him and his label any chance I can. He's, fantastic. Frankie?
Hey, this is Frankie from the Ever Trending Pod. My favorite artist that has inspired me is definitely Mac Miller, rest in peace. I was first introduced to him in 2011, right when I started college. One of my friends gave me his EP, and I was just hooked. It was just kind of easy rapping, not nasty lyrics, things like that. So it was really fun to listen to him, and I loved the way that his career and his music changed. You can definitely tell when he goes through times of sadness and depression and happiness and things like that. Unfortunately, he did pass away from an overdose, and his last album that came out was after he had passed away, and that's my favorite album. It's called Circles. It was released in 2020, and it's just one of those feel-good albums. There's rapping on it, there's an R&B vibe, and he just does a really good job about explaining feelings that are depressive and things like that, but also shedding a light on how things are going to be okay. And that's been a really great deal of time when it comes to being depressed and things like that. Sorry, I got really sad on this, but he's just awesome, and I love him, and I want more music from him, obviously, but can't have it, but I love what we do have. Thank you.
Awesome. And once again, congrats, guys. You guys are awesome, and we hope to hear many, many more episodes from you.
So much like I felt like the message for Dashboard Confessional was pretty much for Michelle, I feel like this is your message, Kyle.
Yeah.
This is
yes to both of those.
Yeah.
Yep.
Big influence, and probably what they were talking about was Tech Nine, probably something that helped you even branch out to more.
Yeah, I used to skip 9th grade high school class and go because the 9th graders weren't allowed to leave campus for lunch. So I would sneak off campus for lunch, and the person that I was with would always have Tech Nine blaring in the car.
There you go.
You're a rebel.
That was my first introduction to him, and I was like, oh my God, this is some shit I've never heard before, and this is amazing.
Yeah, for sure. The next one is one that an artist that I had never heard of, and much like Skindred, I looked into it and was like, oh yeah, I need to know more about that. So here is another clip to share with a great artist.
Hi, this is Paula from the Good Night podcast, and I saw your call for artists, albums, or songs that have had a positive impact, and I thought I would call in with one of my own. And it's not just a song, an album, and an artist. It's actually all three. And the artist is Ozo Motley, which most people I know have never even heard of. But one night I was up late, couldn't fall asleep, and I had been watching Austin City Limits, which is something I never ever watched. But I was flipping channels, and I came across this cool-looking group of a bunch of guys, and they were just breaking into the first song from their Street Side album, which is called Believe. And the song it gives me chills right now, even just thinking about it. It's just the coolest song, inspirational. The lead singer's voice was just captivating, and I was instantly just sucked right into their performance, and I watched the entire thing, and I went out, and I think I ordered it on Amazon. This was 2004 maybe, 2005, and I just procured the Street Signs album as soon as was humanly possible, and have pretty much been obsessed with it ever since. They're one of my favorite acts, and I've seen them live a couple times, and it's always just the most fun, uplifting experience. I'm not a person who dances in public, but man, when I go to a Oza Motley show, I make sure that I am right up front and I am dancing and singing along until I lose my voice every single time. They are amazing and I love them. Take care. Thanks for taking my call. Bye.
And I just love the total accident finding an artist, and then to go on about how that specific artist and album takes you so much out of your own shell.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like really has that big of a positive impact on you. For someone who's made it clear in their message that they are very much a dance like everyone is watching type of person, you know, and then that's the one thing where they're like, I don't care. This moves me so much. So got a couple more clips to share in this first of our two 100 episode celebrations. And these two, again, are rounding this out for a specific reason. Everything else is totally random, but there's a couple that were placed in certain areas, and here's one of them.
Hi, Infectious Groove Crew. This is Chris Roberts from I Saw It on Linden Street, and I just wanted to share with you an album that has been in my life since Jump Street. That would be Supertramp's 1979 amazing Breakfast in America. In the early 80s, it was on heavy rotation in our house. My father was holding on to his college days as hard as he could, while still trying to attempt to stay hip with his Hall & Oates, his Huey Lewis and the News, and America. Honestly, the latter almost became the subject of this audio missive. You kids really haven't lived unless you found yourself standing in a Showbiz Pizza in 1985, seeing Fats Geronimo and the Rockafire Explosion Band sing You Can Do Magic, all while you're trying to consume a slice of greasy sausage pie. The simple joys of an animatronic singing ape. But I digress. No, it's gonna be Supertramp that's holding my attention, because while the album would play on the stereo, it was me who would sit as a kid and cradle the jacket, staring at actress Kate Murtaugh posing as Libby, the giant waitress who was standing in for the Statue of Liberty against a New York skyline that was made of diner paraphernalia. Marveling on the reverse side just at all those crazy breakfast menu items that the band was able to consume for their morning meal. It was a more innocent time, but sitting there, holding the album in my dad's music room, it's a fantastic memory now. And, you know, a funny thing went and happened. I became an adult myself, or at least that's what I try to convince my wife and other people that I'm related to, in spite of what they may think and how I behave. But now, some 30-odd years on, the album's taken on so much more significance for me. I get it, people love the logical song, they love Breakfast in America as a title track, but time and aging has given me personal new insight and poignancy to take the long way home. And Goodbye Stranger. Thoughts of what-ifs and desires for unrealized dreams, they're common things that you have in adulthood. And yet, oddly, I have to tell you, the song that I've come to most identify with is Side 2, the deep cut, Just Another Nervous Wreck. It's about a man whose life is falling apart, but he's at least able to see that there's a silver lining, that he can overcome the changes that are coming his way, and he rallies to fight back against them for himself. I have to admit, it's been on heavy rotation here in this last year of the pandemic. And hey, if it just touches one more person the way it does me, then Supertramp, they've done their job. So, happy 100th episode, guys. Please, here's to 100 more. Keep up the fantastic work. We love you.
That's one of those bands that when all these clips started coming in, and the sheer diversity and everything that we're hearing that has touched everyone's lives, I was like, that's one of those many bands that Michelle's going to be like, who?
I know who Supertramp is. Hush up.
I will hush up. We got one more clip for you to round out the first half of our 100th episode celebration, and this was from a listener. This is rounding out this episode because it's one of my favorite artists, and it actually references a point we made earlier regarding the hows and whys of some artists and the impact what their lifestyle can have on other people.
Hey, it's the undefeated euchre participant at the 33 1/3 Speakeasy and Music Appreciation Center. For me, it took a while to think about what band or group or music had a positive influence on my life. And kind of when I look back on it, one of the ones I thought about was Culture Club. And I was born in 83, so when Color by Numbers came out, that was 83. So we had this record my whole time growing up, my whole childhood growing up. And I remember at a young age kind of asking what was up with Boy George, was he a boy or a girl kind of thing. And I remember my sisters and my parents kind of explaining it to me about, people and their choices they make and how they live their life to be happy. And I think learning that at such a young age and loving the music, it was something I never really thought about again. So it was never, I guess it opened me up to a side of the world I hadn't seen before growing up in my small town in Michigan. But yeah, so that's one of the positive ones for me. I'm sure people that are 5 or 6 years older than me probably have Bowie, David Bowie for the same thing. It probably helped my love for kind of any music after that I was never questioning what people wore, what they wanted to do. It was just happy that people were happy and making great music, right? But that was kind of the one that came to me. So yeah, Culture Club definitely had a big positive impact on my life for sure. Congrats on 100th episode. You guys are awesome. Love listening to you guys. Can't wait to get back there and beat you guys at Euchre again. No big deal.
So a couple of points on that, and we'll get to the really positive stuff first. Like, again, and they point out in that message, like, even more people that I didn't mention earlier, like Bowie. Like Bowie came out was so androgynous and people were just like, I don't get it. But somewhere in America, there was a person sitting going, that's me. I get that, you know? And by far, Boy George was the first person through the wall to just be like, this is me. And I don't care at all what you think. And not even this person in particular looking at it and going like, why is that happening? There were so many other people around the world that were like, that's me. I identify with that. And if it's okay for him to do it on a grand scale, then it's certainly okay for me to be me, which I love. Now, secondarily, the person mentioned the Euchre tournament twice, but what's interesting is they forgot to mention their name. So we'll never know who it is that left that message or claims to be the champion because they didn't bother to identify themselves.
I'm still sitting here trying to learn how to play Euchre.
So it's unfortunate that person didn't say their name because no one's going to have any idea.
It's a mystery.
It is a mystery. It's never going to be solved. That is the first half of our epic 100th episode celebration, and I truly hope that everybody is loving these clips as much as I am. Like Michelle and Kyle, you guys haven't heard any of these until now, and I hope that you're as impressed because I put a lot of hype on it in our group chat. Like I was like, you guys were getting some amazing messages, and
it's been amazing.
And we have just as many to share in the second episode. So if you're hearing this now, the following Monday, you're going to have a second half of this same episode. And most importantly, it's going to be Michelle's 100th episode.
Yes.
So you're hearing Kyle and I's 100th episode right now.
I'm 100th adjacent.
Yeah. Hopefully you've enjoyed things. Please reach out on Twitter too and let us know like which of these messages touched you, like which ones brought up things you didn't think of. And we greatly appreciate all the support. We'll get into it a little bit more in the other half of this episode, but we greatly appreciate all the support. And until you hear from us next week with the second half of this, like we always say, without music, life would be a mistake. Bye.
Bye. The Infectious Groove podcast is hosted by Russ Robinson, Kyle Wimple, and Michelle Koselecki. Produced and edited by Russ Robinson. Intro and outro music composed by Chris Kimmel. Opening credits read by Stacey Robinson. Recorded with a Rode Podcaster Pro and Rode Pod mics.